Today, let's go through some dragon flag variations. Now, obviously the goal is to get to the point where you can hold a full dragon flag. So basically straight body position, holding onto an anchor of some sort, coming down and holding that position or something like that. You might hold onto an anchor that can move, like a kettlebell or a barbell, or something that's fixed, like I'm using this rack today. Or you could hold onto the bench with your hands behind your back. But let's start off with the easiest variations and then slowly make it harder and harder. Obviously, if you're going into this, you don't want to jump in at the hardest variation you can do straight away, like your 1 rep max. We want to start off with one of the easiest ones. So let's go the easiest variation straight away. So we're still going to use that anchor. I'm going to go into a tucked position. So I'm going to hold on to something here fixed. I'm going to make my knees very close to my chest. So I'm sort of got my butt off the floor, my low back pushed into the floor. Now this is already very easy to lift the hips up and come back down again. 1, because my arms are bent. 2, because my hip is already off the floor because I'm in that real tight tuck position. And I've got a very short lever arm, so nothing sticking out too far in that direction. Now I can lift up in that position and hold. And I can slowly come back down again. So notice the low back is rolling off the floor and then rolling back again. Now that's a really good core functional movement that we should all be able to do. Doesn't matter if we're working towards flag variations or not. Now to make that harder, we can now move the knees more on top of the hip. So knee is going to be directly on top of the hip before I come up. I can still keep my heels at my butt, so the lever arm is quite short, and then I'm just going to lift up from that position. And then slowly come back down again. Now notice when I do this, my hip went up, I didn't roll. So a lot of people in this position here will tend to take their knees to their chest first and then lift up. And that's basically the first option we've done. So to make that harder, we want to start with the knees above the hip, lift straight up, and then come back down with control. Now to level up again, I can start to take the lever arm further away. So I can keep the knees bent, but I can frog the legs out. So same thing, I can lift up and then I can come back down. Now when we get into this stage, it's starting to get much harder to hold there, and you might find that you can't go up, you can't do the concentric to get up, but you can do the eccentric. So one way of doing it to progressively make it harder and harder is to go up with one of the easier options, open the legs out, and then slow eccentric, ideally with a hold, or you might need to go all the way back down, but you slowly increase out, come down as slow as possible, and then over time you can add some static holds in there. We can then just keep continuing that until you can pull up in more of a straight body position and add the hold there like that. Another variation is to use a weight that's not fixed. Now it's a little bit trickier with the weight because you have to move it around to compensate for how much lever arm you have sticking out on the other side, because that dramatically changes as you lift the legs up and down. So I recommend you use a kettlebell or a dumbbell and not a barbell to start with. This is probably going to be a bit sketchy, so don't try this at home. So I'd recommend that you probably don't start with a barbell to start with. That actually wasn't so bad though, but kettlebells and dumbbells are a little bit easier and you can adjust the weight accordingly. Obviously a fixed anchor is the best place to start if you're new to the exercise, but have a play with the variations and let me know how you go. If you train it in any other way, let me know down in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Check out my website if you're after any coaching, www.paultwyman.com.au, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks guys.